Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Another amazing weekend of Super Rugby has passed us by. Another sadly boring week has started yet again. So let's take a look back at the fantastic action over the weekend to keep us nice and tuned up for another weekend which will be coming up very, very soon. Of course, we had 7 matches of Super Rugby over the weekend. How did your picks go? I'm always interested to know, but for me, let's have a look at the games and see how my picks went. First things first, we start off in Dunedin Forsyth Bar Stadium where the Highlanders were hosting the Western Force. And after 15 minutes of this match, it was going the way that no one thought it would. 14-0 to the Western Force. They were steaming away straight off the whistle. Dane Haylett-Petty and McCalman scoring very early tries for the Western Force to get their match off to an absolute flyer. The Highlanders, though, did have a big loss from starting of the match with Lema Sopoaga not able to take the field for the game, so it was Hayden Parker who took his place in the starting lineup with Marty Banks coming on to the bench. So a big loss before the kickoff for the Highlanders, and they just didn't seem to have that same flow straight off the whistle like we expect them to do, especially against a team like the Force. But as we all know, the game does not end after 15 minutes, and the Highlanders, well, they got back to the usual self, and they got back to what we've seen from a couple of New Zealand teams over 2016. And that is some just ridiculous tries being scored. But credit always goes to the Western Force, who stuck with the Highlanders, especially on the scoreboard for most of the match. About 10 minutes after half-time, you started to notice the Force really fell off the pace a bit. And I thought to myself at that point, this is when the game is going to change for the Highlanders. But there was a lot of injury breaks in the second half. Head clashes. Oh my God, what on earth was going on in that game? So many players clashing heads with their own team, with the opposite team. It was just blood and guts everywhere. There was players going down unconscious on the field, players covered in blood, stretchers coming on all the time. And I think, despite the fact that the Force lost some players to those head clashes, I think it really aided them in recovering when it seemed like the fitness was going to fall short for them and they started to run out of puff a bit. That really rejuvenated the side, having a good 5 or 6 minutes to sit back and get the puff back in the lungs, and they never really fell off the pace. But they just still couldn't come back to the level of the Highlanders, and special mention goes to Matt Faddis, who was outstanding for the Highlanders. He's been a real revelation for this team, getting better and better every single week. Aaron Smith as well was brilliant. But for the Force, Dane Haylett-Petty, I thought the fullback really showed that he could be one to watch in the future. The Highlanders eventually come away with it though, 32 points to 20 in the end. A close match, a lot closer than most people would have thought it would have ended up. My prediction was 47-13 to the Highlanders, so I get the winner right. I take myself 1 point from that early matchup. A great performance from the Force, but the Highlanders too strong at home. We went over to South Africa for our second Friday night matchup, which was the Lions up against the Crusaders. Now this is one I thought both teams had a pretty decent chance of winning, but it was the Crusaders who started off with a blazing start. A try for the hat-trick hero Ryan Crotty after just 50 seconds on the clock. And from there on, the game didn't change at all. Both sides throwing around attack, amazing, scintillating attacking form from both the sides led to many, many tries and a topsy-turvy scoreline where neither team really dominated to any point that they looked clear out-and-out winners till the very bitter end. I thought the replacement hooker Van der Merwe come on for the Lions and played very well, bagging himself a double for the Lions and put them really in a chance to win this match. It was end-to-end attack, side-to-side stuff all over the show. Elton Yancey, special mention for him as well. He was superb as he's been all season. I think definitely one of the best-looking South African fly halves in the competition at this early stage still. For the Crusaders, one name, Ryan Crotty, finally back in a Crusaders jumper, and he looked superb as well. And the overall squad play of the Crusaders as well. No players stood out or were too heavily dependent. Nadolo did his work, but he wasn't that every single play go-to man, which I think benefits the Crusaders. If they have multiple threats around the park, they can be a lot better side when they aren't so predictable in where they go. It was an amazing game. Yankees kicked them into a bonus point, the Lions, in the dying moments of the match, but in the end the final score was 43-37 to the Crusaders. The Lions just falling 6 points short, but an entertaining matchup, and one, the Lions could have easily won on another day. My prediction was 19 points to 17 for the Lions to win it, so I was completely off the mark on that one and pick up no points at all. Back to New Zealand we go on Saturday night. It was the Blues at home to face the Jaguares, or the Jaguares. I don't know what anyone really wants to call them. Some people keep calling them Jaguars. Other people like to call them the Jaguares. I'll just go with both. Why not? Best of both worlds. So was the Blues at home, and really both teams needed this win. The Jaguars, they needed to really try and push their way up this table in their South African conference. The Blues, on the other hand, struggling down at the bottom of the New Zealand conference, and this was one of those games that shows that you don't need to dominate possession, you don't need to dominate territory, you don't need to hardly have the ball to win a match. The Jaguars had enough ball, enough chances, enough opportunities to win this game 5 times over, but the Blues, to their credit, took the few chances they had, the little bit of time, the periods of possession in attacking areas that they managed to get, and they took their chances. That's all it comes down to, were the chances taken. And pretty popular thoughts around the Jaguars is just the ability to finish when they dominate for long periods. They just could not put it away, especially against the Blues. The Blues defense, I thought, was pretty good, and that really was the key to them getting the win as well, because they had to defend for a very, very long passage as well, when it was just continuously the Jaguars on the attack. So they need to work on their finishing. I think their discipline has finally come right. It was a very different team that they sent over for this opening match against the Blues, but we've seen there was some new Argentinians in there that we hadn't seen yet that are at a decent level, and I think we may see a lot more of in the future. The final score in that one was the Blues taking it out 24-16 over the Jaguares. My prediction was the Jaguars to win 31-23. So once again, wrong winner, miles off from the scoreline as well. Another big donut of 0 points for me. Right, we made our way over to Australia, and this one deserves special mention. Almost a video just for itself. It's the Brumbies versus the Chiefs. Now, if you haven't watched this match, I strongly suggest you catch a replay or something about it. Look on YouTube. I don't know if they even have them anymore. Surely there'll be a highlight show or something you can catch, because this Chiefs team is just ridiculous. The Highlanders are looking great as well, but the Chiefs just have this something about them that they can just do the unbelievable. They just score the most ridiculous of tries just from nothing. Their counter-attack, the ability to just break the line and be on the shoulder of support is just phenomenal. I've seen nothing like it in all the years of watching rugby. It was the game of the round for me, and it well and truly delivered. 2 men for me stood out for the Chiefs, and I think really they have to get black jerseys. Damian McKenzie and, of course, James Lowe on the left wing. He's just ridiculously good. Aaron Cruden showing a bit of what he's capable of. It was a quieter night for Charlie Ngatai, but he really uses his boot to great effect. James Lowe as well, a great exponent of the long punt. He's got a massive boot on him as well. But the Chiefs just attack. I mean, McKenzie's a fullback that just consistently joins the line and just consistently makes half gaps, half breaks, or even full breaks, and he just has the support everywhere around him, which makes a massive difference. I mean, they scored tries that you just wouldn't dream about in your wildest dreams either. The Brumbies was blown away, and the best Australian side simply got destroyed. I don't think the Brumbies played badly. The Chiefs are just that good. They can take a game away from you before you even realise it, and they have really become one of the favourites very early on to go a long way, very deep into this competition. The Chiefs, simply put, were awesome. You can target any player you like, but all round, they just have the answers everywhere. The final score was 48-23. The Chiefs getting the big win. Now, my prediction was 35-17. I actually thought that the Chiefs would get the job done as well, but I underestimated what the Chiefs can do. I'd still take 1 point, and the Brumbies, they did get some points on the board as well, but when you have a team like the Chiefs, they just do it unbelievably easily. We seen against the Jaguares a couple of weeks ago. They thought they had won the game, but the Chiefs just have this uncanny ability. I seem to always be talking about it with the Chiefs. They just score tries, and brilliant tries at that. Alright, so we made our way from that stunning matchup over to South Africa, where the two winless sides finally met each other, and they would be just one winless side after this matchup. It was the Kings versus the Sunwolves, and for me, I really wanted to see the Sunwolves win this one because they hadn't won a match yet. The Kings, we know, have been in Super Rugby before, although they weren't very successful, but I think for the good of the competition, the Sunwolves really needed to win. And both of these sides, to be fair to them, have shown that they are capable of attacking. They know how to score tries, and the fact that they both scored 4 tries each shows exactly that. They're good attacking sides. It's their defense, their discipline, their execution that needs worked on. The Sunwolves, well, they really fell short in the second half when they had most of the half in the Kings 22, but they only took away 3 points despite pretty much setting up a base camp down there and a recruitment stand as well for future Sunwolves players. They would just sit down there and they weren't going anywhere, but they just could not capitalise on all those chances. The Kings, to their credit now, can claim this victory on their defence, and the frantic finish in the final 3 minutes where both sides picked up a try, but all in all, it was the Kings who held the advantage from their first half display. The Sunwolves, they just couldn't find the line, and you got to question now where they'll get that win from, because the Kings, that was their golden chance right there. I think the Kings have a great little centre on their hands in the form of Gates, has really proven week in and week out he is a threat on attack, handy in defence as well for this Kings side. He's proving to be a very, very key element to their side. As for the Sunwolves, I think PC played pretty well. He actually ran the ball a lot more than we've seen from him this season so far. And I mentioned again, Yamada, he is just a machine. He scores tries and he scores brilliant tries as well. And it's great to see, you know, these Argentinian players, these Japanese players showing that they can score tries that you'd expect to see from Tier 1 nations. You know, we don't see these sides enough, these lower tier nations enough to appreciate how good some of their players can be. And I think the likes of Yamada is one who's really stood out from Japan as a real backline talent. That final score was 33-28, the Kings over the Sunwolves. My selection was the Sunwolves winning at 27-23, so there's 0 points on offer for me. Once again, not a great week for me, this one at all. Right, we stay in South Africa for our next match. It's the Bulls versus the Cheetahs, and this is one that was really going to be quite interesting. These two sides, really different type of team, both of them, but they both had the ability that they could win this match. The Cheetahs, consistency and the ability to attack is what they'll probably pride themselves on. The Bulls, on the other hand, very, very defensive, and they'll grind the team down, as we've seen. They're happy to go to their forwards, they're happy to camp the game down, force a team into mistakes, frustrate them into a loss, and that's what we expect from the Bulls week in and week out. And the Bulls, they seem happy just to scrap away and get their wins this year. They rely on their defence, and really the only time they struck with good attack was when there was a yellow card for the Cheetahs, and they hit there with 2 very good tries. The Cheetahs once again forced to play catch up, and it was just too far for them to climb. They just had too much to do, and the Bulls, well, very happily went into their shell and really put that defensive front on. The Cheetahs, though, they come back nicely. They got close. They grabbed themselves a bonus point, but they seem to always have the top performing players. Schumann picking up man of the match, the number 8, and Sergio Peterson. I've mentioned him a couple of times as well for the Cheetahs. He seems to be a real threat, a real danger, and I think he should be one a bit of a bolter into a green Springboks jersey later on this year, possibly, if he keeps his form together. The final score on that one was 23-18, the Bulls over the Cheetahs. Now get this. My pick was the Bulls 22-17. I was out both sides by 1 point. 1 point, I can't believe it. 23-18 was the final score though. Still pick up 2 points for that, but could have picked up 5 if I just got 1 more point each. So close, yet so far away. So my weekend hadn't gone too well as far as my picks were concerned, but there's still one more match left that could really pick up not only points, but also a very satisfying result. And that final matchup was the Waratahs versus the Rebels. Now, the Waratahs is a team full of players. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't like a lot of the Waratahs players, and really, if you don't like a team too much, you do take a lot of pleasure in seeing them struggle, and that is exactly what happened when they played against the Rebels. It was another worthless first half from the Waratahs. The Rebels scored all their points from the whole match in the first half, so 21 points to the Rebels, and that's all they needed to do as well. They were scoreless in the second 40 minutes. Like we've seen from the Waratahs before, they charged back into the second half, just like we've seen versus the Highlanders a few weeks ago. But we now have to give credit to the Rebels, who are finally, and I mean finally, it's been a few years now, Rebels, but you're finally learning how to close out a game, how to defend, how to shut a game down, and they did it very, very well indeed. They're starting to get players now, the Rebels, who are actually at good level. Their experience is building, the ability is building as well, and they're starting to become that team, like we just seen from them against the Waratahs, that can actually win a match and really tip the apple cart right over on its head and destroy any form of form that a team thinks it could possibly have. They've got players who are key, especially in the back row. Sean McMahon and Geordie Reid, simply outstanding 2 players in the back row for the Rebels. And you can't really pick out a Waratahs player who played exceptionally well. Israel Folau picked up a yellow card as well, which is pretty uncharacteristic for him in the Waratahs jumper, but they were just average. They just made a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors. The bounce the ball didn't go their way, which is unlucky. But when you have so many Wallabies throughout your team, so many key players, so many playmakers, game breakers, you just expect that they're going to get it done. Jack DeBrasini for the Rebels, he is really showing his worth this season as well. A try, conversion, and 3 penalties all to his name, almost single-handedly taking out the Waratahs by himself. He is building quite nicely, and the team around him is looking very, very good as well. I'm excited for the Rebels, and I think if they can keep this form up, they could really stun a few more sides, and it'll be great for the competition if they can keep that up. The final score on that one was 21-17. The Melbourne Rebels getting their big win. A famous victory in Rebels land, no doubt, over the New South Wales Waratahs. Now, my pick was 19-16. The Waratahs get the win. So I didn't get the right winner, but my scoreline was within 10 still. So not a bad guess, that one either. I still get the 1 bonus point for my selection. So that is round 6 of Super Rugby done and dusted. Oh, some amazing matches throughout the weekend. I mean, the Chiefs have to be a standout highlight for me. They're just such an exciting team to watch. So much flair, so much game-breaking ability as well. My picks for this weekend didn't go so well. I only picked up 5 points over the whole weekend. We had a couple of selections coming in from you guys as well, but the out-and-out standout was from the reviewer, who again pulled in some very nice selections. He picked up 8 points from the weekend, which I thought was an extraordinary effort. 2 picks in particular were extremely close. None more so than his selection of the Chiefs versus the Brumbies. Now, it's a brave man, I think, to pick this high. I thought my pick was rather brave and ambitious, but the reviewer selecting the Chiefs 42-23 over the Brumbies, actual scoreline 48-23, so that's worth a grand 2 points for him on that pick, and a very good pick selection as well. Only getting one match head-to-head wrong, which was the Rebels and the Waratahs on Sunday night. A great time to have rugby too, by the way, Sunday night as well. So my tally gets another 5 points added to it. Another good weekend as well of Super Rugby. I'll be back in a couple of days' time to have a look at what is coming up for round 7 of Super Rugby. I hope to see you all there. Get your picks in as well for the upcoming weekend's action, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care.